ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Isha Rajput. At the outset, I thank IRIA for giving me this opportunity. Before starting the lecture, let's take a minute and realize this, that radiology is the best thing that could have happened to us professionally, and I'm so happy to meet all of you today this afternoon. Coming to today's discussion, adrenal incidentalomas. It is a challenging topic, no doubt. Multiple confusing protocols exist. And here I will elaborate the standard recommendations that have to be followed in letter and spirit for correct diagnosis. This is the flow of my presentation, which will include definition, anatomy of adrenal glands, common adrenal lesions, the imaging modalities that are available to us, questions that we have to answer, approach to diagnosis and follow-up, and concluding with critical analysis and final recommendations. Starting with definition. An adrenal mass more than 1 centimeter in size detected during a CT or MRI examination performed for indications other than suspected adrenal abnormality is called an adrenal incidentaloma. However, this imaging should not have been done for a patient of already known malignancy or for evaluation of metastasis. But what about masses that are less than 1 centimeter? Masses that are less than 1 centimeter in size are associated with physiological aging process and are noticed at post-mortem examinations many a times. So our further discussion pertains to lesions that are more than 1 centimeter in size in patients with no known history of prior malignancy. Anatomy of adrenal glands, just a word. These are paired endocrine glands located at the superior pole of each kidney. They produce multiple hormones regulating body's metabolism, salt and water balance, stress response, and sexual functions. The suprarenal glands are composed of two parts, the cortex and medulla. Cortex has zona glomerulosa that secretes mineralocorticoids, zona fasciculata that secretes glucocorticoids, and zona reticularis that secretes sex steroids. The central part is the medulla, which is composed of chromaffin cells secreting catecholamines, epinephrine and norepinephrine. The blood supply of both the glands is from three arteries, the superior, middle and inferior suprarenal arteries, which are in turn branches of inferior phrenic, abdominal aorta and renal artery respectively. Venous drainage is via single vein on both sides. On the left side, it drains into renal vein or inferior phrenic vein, and on the right side, it drains directly into the IVC. Coming to common adrenal lesions, as is the common notion, it is divided into benign and malignant. Among the benign lesions, as you can see on the slide, there are four distinct groups. The upper half of the slide can be confidently diagnosed with CT, and the lower half needs other imaging modalities. The prime lesions being adrenal cortical adenoma, myelolipoma, adrenal cyst, and hemorrhage, pheochromocytoma, and an others group that includes hemangioma, lymphangioma, ganglioneuroma, schwannoma, oncocytoma, adenomatoid tumor, and adrenal infections. Among the malignant lesions, there are two main diagnoses, which is adrenal cortical carcinoma and metastasis. Here also we have an others group that includes sarcoma and lymphoma. The questions that have to be answered on imaging when you see an adrenal incidentaloma, first and foremost, is the lesion benign or malignant? Second, is the lesion hormonally active or dormant? Third, is surgery or observation required? And fourth, if follow-up is recommended, at what intervals and till what time? To answer these four questions, you also ask some questions. That means you take history. First thing that you ask is history of malignancy so that your mind will be alerted towards metastasis. And the rest of the questions are directed at subclinical hormonal syndromes that can occur due to a suboptimally functioning adrenal adenoma. The patient may not have overt symptoms, but he will complain of subclinical symptoms, which he will say positively if you probe him further. In case of subclinical Cushing's, the patient may complain of increased BMI, waist-hip ratio, impaired glucose tolerance, or altered lipid profile, or insulin resistance. Subclinical androgen secretion, males may present with sexual dysfunction, and females may present with period irregularity or PCOS syndrome. Asymptomatic pheochromocytoma, these patients can give history of episodic tachycardia, paroxysmal rise in BP, or orthostatic hypotension. Subclinical adrenocortical function. In these patients, there'll be a vague history of altered blood pressure, and sometimes they'll give you history that even after 1 or 2 episodes of mild diarrhea, they suffer with severe dehydration and electrolyte imbalance. So these are the questions that you ask from the patient. Next, I'll tell you few features of a benign lesion. How to identify whether the lesion is benign or malignant. So here we are. On NCCT, if we find a homogeneous lesion which has an HU of less than 10, in this we must ensure that while measuring the HU, the region of interest covers more than 75% of the lesion. Then it will be labeled as a benign lesion or adrenal adenoma and nothing needs to be done further. However, if it is a non-homogeneous lesion, post-contrast adrenal protocol CT or chemical shift MRI has to be done. A benign lesion on chemical shift MRI may show loss of signal intensity on out-of-phase images. This will be consistent with lipid-rich adenoma. On CT with contrast washout, adrenal protocol contrast washout. In that, absolute washout will be more than 60% and relative washout more than 40%. A benign lesion on FDG PET will either show no uptake or the uptake will be less than liver. Now, in adrenal incidentaloma, 60 to 70% lesions are benign, and out of that, approximately 80% lesions are adenomas. So actually what this slide depicts are features of an adrenal adenoma. Next, we will read about features of a malignant lesion. What do you see when you suspect malignancy? Large lesions, size more than 4 centimeter. Heterogeneous tumor with areas of cystic change, necrosis and calcification. On NCCT, they will have an HU of more than 10, and post-contrast adrenal protocol CT will show an absolute washout of less than 60% and relative washout less than 40%. There will be no loss of signal on chemical shift MRI. FDG PET will show isotope avidity, and also if it is a malignant lesion, locoregional and distant metastasis features will be noted. So benign versus malignant, we are clear. Now, what are the indications of surgery or resection? Do all benign lesions are only observed? No. Benign lesions that are hormonally active have to be resected. Benign lesion with growth more than 20% or 5 mm in 1 year on follow-up studies need resection. Pheochromocytoma and malignant lesions are also indications for surgery. So this is a very simple flowchart that you can follow. Till now, whatever we have read, I will summarize. On imaging, I saw an adrenal incidentaloma. I did a non-contrast CT as the first investigation. If I am certain that it's an adrenal adenoma, I may only do clinical assessment and biochemical evaluation for hormonal activity. If I am not confident, I will do FDG PET, MRI, chemical shift imaging, and contrast adrenal protocol CT. If it's a benign lesion like adenoma, lipoma, or myelolipoma, and I'm confirmed that there is no hormonal activity, no further investigations have to be done. But if it is a functional lesion or indeterminate lesion, I will discuss it in MDT for surgical resection or for follow-up. Now this slide introduces us to a new term, which is MDT. What is MDT? MDT is a multidisciplinary team. It comprises of radiologist, pathologist, surgeon, endocrinologist, and anesthetist. When is a case brought to MDT? When imaging is not consistent with a benign lesion, evidence of hormone excess is there, evidence of significant tumor growth on follow up, and because of all these findings, we are planning an adrenal surgery. Then is a case brought to MDT. So, after evaluation in MDT, how do we go about further imaging this adrenal incidentaloma? First thing is ultrasound. These are the modalities that are available with us. I'll discuss each one separately. Ultrasound, normal adrenal glands are not regularly visible on ultrasound, but lesions that are more than 22 centimeter in size, 90% of them will be picked up on ultrasound. Features that we can see include cystic area, calcification, wall thickness, debris, septations, but benign versus malignant, we do not get an answer on ultrasound alone. So we proceed with CT. All the radiologic guidelines, including the 2010 White Paper of ACR Incidental Findings Committee and ACR Appropriateness Criteria for Imaging Evaluation of Incidentally Detected Adrenal Masses 2012, are dedicated to CT. Even the algorithm, which is supposed to be followed up in letter and spirit, which will be flashed towards the end of the presentation, is also a part of the 2010 White Paper of ACR. Now on CT, what are the things that we evaluate? First is the qualitative evaluation of shape and homogeneity. Benign adenomas are well-defined homogeneous lesions. Irregularity in shape, necrosis, hemorrhagic foci, calcifications, degeneration are all suspicious of malignancy. The size has to be measured and has to be put into one of the three groups which is flashed on the slide. Follow-up studies must notice whether there is an increase in size of 20% or 5 millimeter in 1 year. Attenuation. If it is less than 10 HU when ROI is more than 75% of the lesion and the lesion is homogeneous, then it is presumed to be adrenal adenoma and nothing else is required. But 10 to 40% adenomas are lipid poor, so they will have an HU of more than 10 on NCCT. To identify them, adrenal protocol post-contrast study is done. This is flashed in this box. Adrenal protocol means that we do 3 scans. The first scan is the non-contrast or unenhanced scan. The second is the post-contrast 1 minute or early enhanced scan. And the third is the 15 minutes delayed enhanced scan. After that, we calculate 2 indices, absolute contrast washout and relative contrast washout. The formulas of both are flashed on the slide. So if this washout values is more than 60% and relative washout more than 40%, it is an adrenal adenoma and nothing else needs to be done if the lesion is hormonally inactive. Coming to MRI, the protocol followed is T1, T2 sequences, chemical shift sequences, and post-contrast T1 FS images. In chemical shift, if it is a lipid-rich adenoma, in-phase and opposed phase images are done, and there will be signal loss on opposed phase images. Lipid-poor adenomas, they cannot be identified with chemical shift MRI, and adrenal protocol CT is the main thing to do. Benign and malignant characteristics which are seen on CT are also confirmed on MRI. Next diagnostic test that we have in our armamentarium to evaluate adrenal adenomas is hormonal evaluation. But why do we need to do it? By definition, adrenal incidentalomas are noted in patients in whom clinical features of adrenal hormone excess is not there. But there are cases in which patients have subclinical hormone secretion which warrants tumor resection, even when there are no overt clinical symptoms and the imaging profile of the lesion is benign. So even if you think that the lesion is benign and on hormonal evaluation you find that there is evidence of hormone excess, you have to indicate surgery for this patient. So a brief overview about 5 syndromes that we have to screen for hormonal evaluation. The first is a subclinical Cushing syndrome for which cortisol concentration at midnight is measured. Normally, due to the circadian rhythm, the cortisol concentration in the evening should be less than 50% of morning values. The cutoff values are flashed on the slide. Dexamethasone suppression test and 2-day test are other options available. In subclinical androgen secretion, increased DHEA will be seen. In hyperaldosteronism, ratio of serum aldosterone and plasma renin activity is measured. In asymptomatic pheochromocytoma, 24-hour urinary catecholamines will be elevated. So increased catecholamines will also be seen in blood, and confirmatory scan for pheochromocytoma is MIBG scan, meta-iodobenzyl guanidine scan, which is a radionuclide study. Somatostatin receptor scintigraphy also can be confirmatory. Subclinical adrenocortical hypofunction, in this ACTH and renin will be increased. So we have done with CT, MRI, ultrasound and hormonal evaluation. Now we come to ultrasound guided FNAC. This has very limited role in case of adrenal adenomas, adrenal incidentaloma, because it is indicated only if diagnosis of metastasis versus adrenocortical carcinoma affects our further management, because complication rate is very high. First is the tumor seeding, which is a possibility, and second is the catecholamine crisis, which can occur due to undiagnosed pheochromocytoma. So now we'll discuss about few lesions that can be confidently diagnosed with CT alone. As I've already enumerated multiple number of times before, adenomas. These are the most common lesions and these are benign, and if diagnosed improperly, need no further imaging, provided they are hormonally inactive. So at the cost of repetition, I'll just enumerate the features again. They are lipid-rich with abundant vascularity. HU will be less than 10 for 60 to 90% of them, and 10 to 40% lipid-poor adenomas will show contrast washout characteristics as flashed on the slide. Also, loss of signal will be seen on opposed phase images due to the lipid content. Adrenal hemorrhage occurs only in limited clinical situations like trauma or non-traumatic causes. Non-contrast CT attenuation will be 50 to 90 HU. So this is the clinching point, that these are hyperdense lesions on non-contrast CT. This follow-up of adrenal hemorrhage is with ultrasound and they show a decrease in size over time. So our radiology presentation till now had only slides. So this is the first image after approximately 19 to 20 slides. So it depicts features of adrenal adenoma. The upper row, ABC, shows a lipid-rich adenoma, which has a mean HU or non-contrast CT of minus 5.92. And on chemical shift images, in phase and opposed phase image, there is loss of signal on opposed phase image, showing that this is a lipid-rich adenoma. In the lower set of images, D, E, and F, there is non-contrast CT, early enhanced contrast CT, and delayed enhanced. On this calculation of washout characteristics, the absolute washout was more than 70% and relative washout more than 45%, indicating that it is an adrenal adenoma, and if it is hormonally inactive, nothing needs to be done further. Adrenal hemorrhage, another picture with hyperdense lesions in both adrenals, and the same macroscopic images also shown. Another two lesions that we can easily diagnose with CT and be confident about it are adrenal cyst and myelolipoma. Cysts have cystic density on CT and there are four types: vascular endothelial, pseudocyst, simple cyst and parasitic cyst. Ultrasound will show us characteristics like wall, debris and calcification, and the CT will have an HU of less than 20. These are simple lesions, usually hormonally inactive, and that's why they grow to very large sizes, approximately 20 centimeter. MRI will show us again features of a cystic lesion. However, there are some resection criteria that we have for cyst, that is size more than 5 centimeter, all functional cyst, and cyst with suspicious features. What are the suspicious features? So suspicious features are a cyst which is irregular with wall thickness more than 5 millimeter, mural or septal enhancement, and solid lesions with post-contrast enhancement. Those are the cysts which we are worried about. The second lesion that we can easily diagnose with CT is myelolipoma. Myelolipomas are benign tumors, usually hormonally inactive with lipid and myelopoietic cells. These are asymptomatic and have macroscopic fat. Size more than 7 centimeter, again a catch. Even in myelolipoma is an indication for resection. So another image of an adrenal cyst, well-defined large lesion with peripheral calcification, cystic appearance on CT, pushing the kidney, but it does not have any solid component which shows post-contrast enhancement, so we are not suspicious about it. Myelolipoma, a fat density lesion in left adrenal gland, consider myelolipoma. The next lesion that we have to read about is pheochromocytoma. Now, pheochromocytoma is known as an imaging chameleon. Why? Because it mimics the imaging appearance of so many lesions and it is very difficult to put it into one bracket. That's why it was in the lower half of the slide when I showed you classification of benign lesions. It arises from chromaffin cells in adrenal medulla and it is related to extra-adrenal paragangliomas, and multiple syndromes are associated with pheochromocytoma as flashed on the slide. Size is usually 3 to 5 centimeter, but it will show cystic change, degeneration, necrosis, calcification, you name it, and it will have a feature. On non-contrast CT, it usually has an HU of more than 10. On washout characteristic, it will show avid washout and mimic adenomas, but it will be heterogeneous in appearance. A light bulb sign is explained on MRI, that is T2 hyperintense homogeneous lesion, which is rarely seen because these lesions are mostly heterogeneous in appearance. So what is the confirmatory test that we are left with? That is radionuclide study. MIBG scan is the confirmatory modality. Other radionuclides that we can do is FDG PET, fluorodopamine, and hydroxyephedrine. So these are images of pheochromocytomas, a right side adrenal lesion on MRI with a T2 hyperintense contents within, suggestive of a pheochromocytoma. And on MIBG scan with fusion CT, it shows avid lesion, suggestive of a pheochromocytoma. The main malignant lesion that we have to read about in adrenal gland is adrenal cortical carcinoma. It is a rare lesion. So first and foremost thing, adrenal incidentaloma. Benign lesions are way commoner than malignant lesions. Syndromes associated with adrenal cortical carcinoma include Li-Fraumeni, Beckwith-Widman, Carney's complex, MEN1. The patient may have abdominal pain, weight loss, and features of hormone excess. On CT, this is important. The imaging features of adrenal cortical carcinoma on CT is typical of a malignant lesion. Heterogeneous suprarenal mass displacing adjacent structure, HU more than 10. Absolute and relative contrast washout less than 60 and less than 40 respectively. Tumor thrombus in renal vein, IVC. Loco-regional and distant metastasis. These are the features which will safely place you in a place where you can say that this lesion is malignant and likely to be adrenal cortical carcinoma. MRI will confirm the diagnosis on CT, and this will be a hypermetabolic lesion on PET, adrenal to liver SUV ratio being more than 1.45. Similar findings that I just enumerated, you can see in this large heterogeneous left adrenal lesion, which extension into left adrenal vein as well as a IVC. Now this is the slide that I have been planning to tell you about. It is the gist and summary of all the slides that I have shown you till now. Don't get apprehended because it looks complicated. Take a picture of it and paste it at whatever place you are reporting because it comes very handy while doing routine cases. So I'll take you through it. Don't worry, I'll take you through it. An incidental adrenal mass diagnosed more than 1 centimeter, adrenal incidentaloma. If there are diagnostic imaging features like myelolipoma or cyst, no hormonal imaging or follow-up is required if the lesion is hormonally inactive. If it has diagnostic imaging features of an adenoma and hormonally inactive, nothing has to be done. If it is non-diagnostic imaging features and the lesion is large, more than 4 centimeter in size, there is no previous cancer history, You do a hormonal evaluation and consider resection. But if there is a cancer history previously, do a PET scan because it could be a metastasis. And if it is a metastasis, then you may consider biopsy to see to confirm the metastasis, and thereafter resection sometimes may not be required because then it depends on stage of the primary cancer, and that is the way that we have to go about it. So lesions which are definitely benign, definitely malignant have been taken care of. Now we come to a gray area of 1 to 4 centimeter. If there is a prior imaging available and the lesion is stable at 1 year follow-up of CT, then you do a hormonal evaluation. If it is non-functional, just keep following up. Till when? For 4 years. Do a hormonal evaluation every year, and a adrenal protocol CT at every 12 months till the lesion either becomes hormonally active or remains stable for 4 years, and then you can stop reviewing it depending on a discussion in multidisciplinary team. But if there is a no prior imaging available, no history of cancer, benign features, presume that the mass is benign and consider follow-up. But if it has suspicious features, again, you have to do adrenal protocol CT, MRI, washout characteristics, and if it is found to be suspicious, do a hormonal evaluation and consider resection. So I've taken you through this flowchart. This is the one that you have to follow in letter and spirit while reporting any case of adrenal incident luma. It is mentioned in the white paper of ACR reporting. So this is the practical approach, how you go about it. At the end, I conclude with critical analysis and final recommendations. Adenomas, adrenal cyst, myelolipoma, adrenal hemorrhage, all you can diagnose confidently with CT. At the cost of repetition, adenomas are homogeneous lesions which are less than 4 cm in size, non-contrast HU less than 10, washout characteristic more than 60, more than 40. Adrenal cyst, cystic lesion, myelolipoma, fat density, adrenal hemorrhage, hyperdense lesions which will decrease in size on ultrasound follow-up. Pheochromocytoma. These are important. These are hypervascular tumors with heterogeneous characteristics. T2 bright areas on MRI and MIBG scan positive. We must always screen all patients for catecholamine excess cortical carcinoma. Surgery followed by chemotherapy is the treatment of choice, and the malignant characteristics include large size, heterogeneity on CT and MRI, necrosis, degeneration, hemorrhagic foci, locoregional extension, metastasis, and hormonal activity. But lesion growth more than 20% in 1 year is also an indication for resection. They should be considered malignant and indicated for resection. What to do with bilateral lesions? These could be hyperplasia or infections, malignancy, lymphoma, or metastasis. If they are more than 3 cm in size and heterogeneous with retroperitoneal lymphadenopathy, lymphoma or metastasis are more likely. Always remember, before any FNAC, biopsy, surgery, catecholamines have to be screened and an appropriate blockade with alpha and beta blocker has to cover the procedure. If the lesion is found to be hormonally active, invasive sampling has to be done with invasive venous sampling before excision to ensure that the right side, correct side, is removed on surgery. Follow-up hormonal evaluation every year for 4 years, and follow-up imaging at 6 to 12 months interval, depending upon the symptoms of the patient, and till such time as the patient goes into any of the criteria groups. So I've discussed whether the lesion is benign or malignant, whether it is hormonally active, what imaging follow-up has to be given, and what hormonal follow-up. With this, you will be fully equipped to deal with any kind of adrenal incidentaloma that crops up on your routine imaging. I thank all the organizers for giving me this opportunity. Hope you have enjoyed this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Isha. A very comprehensive presentation indeed. And I'm sure, as you said,